Should products with usage-based pricing models be included in recurring revenue metrics like ARR? Well, there are examples of SaaS and cloud companies that do include them in ARR, and also many that don't. Before we dig deeper into the ARR calculations, let's spend a few minutes and just give a little more context and background about usage-based pricing and exactly how it works. Now, as you probably know, with usage-based pricing, the amount the customer pays varies every month depending upon how much of the service they consume. So, cloud providers with usage-based pricing will build metering into their products, and they'll monitor the number of transactions processed, the amount of data volume consumed, the number of hours the service is used, the number of connections that are active, whatever value metric is used to drive the pricing. And then they'll send that metering data into a rating engine, which will look up the customer's specific pricing based on their contract and calculate the specific line items that appear on the invoice. Historically, usage-based pricing has been most popular with cloud infrastructure providers, so companies that provide compute as a service, storage as a service, data as a service, content distribution networking, as well as companies that monitor cloud infrastructure for performance, health, and information security. There are many different flavors of usage-based pricing. This is one that you would commonly see associated with cloud infrastructure, where configurations of compute, storage, and memory are packaged together for different types of workloads, often in what's described as t-shirt sizes, small, medium, large, etc., and available for rent on a per hour, per minute, or per second basis. Usage-based pricing can also look a lot like subscription pricing. Many SaaS and cloud providers actually present their usage-based pricing models in this kind of tabular format because it is such a familiar paradigm to buyers. And so there can be multiple tiers, each with different levels of features and functionality available, each offering different rates that you can consume and buy the service at. But those are just two examples of how usage-based pricing can be presented. There are really an infinite number of combinations and value metrics. Some companies charge based on the number of transactions processed. Others charge based on the amount of time the service is consumed. Others meter the amount of data volume that's processed. And some even charge based on the number of devices that are connected. But regardless of how the pricing is actually presented and packaged, most customers begin their journey with usage-based pricing products by signing up either for a free trial or a monthly pay-as-you-go plan. And that's a very attractive customer acquisition strategy because not only are you telling the customer they don't have to sign up for a 12-month commitment, but they're only going to pay if they use the service. Monthly pay-as-you-go pricing models for usage-based pricing, though, do create a challenge when we start to think about this as recurring revenue, because you can have lots of different usage profiles resulting in lots of different revenue profiles. You might have some customers that start to use the service for a few months and then simply abandon it, or you have others that steadily increase their usage over time, and still others that are just consistently using the same amount month over month. One of the strategies that SaaS and cloud providers offering usage-based pricing do in order to get better predictability and visibility to their future revenue streams is they try to identify the customers that are consistently using the product and move them on to longer-term contract structures. And the way they incentivize the customers to do that is by offering them discounts. So, for example, you might have a customer that knows they're going to use at least 1,000 units of the particular product within the next 12 months. They might be very comfortable prepaying for those 1,000 units in exchange for a 40% discount. This offers the vendor much more visibility and predictability to what their revenue stream is going to be. Another common contract structure is what they call a monthly minimum, in which the customer is confident that they're going to use at least 100 units of the product on a monthly basis, and in order to get a 25 or 30% discount, they might be comfortable committing to a 1 or 2-year contract where they agree to a monthly minimum fee. Now, what's interesting about some of these annual contract structures, particularly the monthly minimum contract, is if you take a look at the dark orange bars here, which are the committed monthly fee, this is almost a textbook definition of recurring revenue. In fact, the dark orange part looks exactly like what you would expect to see in a fixed fee subscription, which we will all unanimously agree is included in ARR. However, most SaaS and cloud providers that have usage-based pricing, even if they have those types of monthly minimum contracts, don't try to annualize that. Instead, they take a much simpler approach to calculating ARR, and that is typically taking their GAAP revenue from the past month or the past quarter and annualizing that. And they'll typically call it something different than annual recurring revenue. They'll come up with a slightly different phrase like annualized recurring run rate or annualized revenue run rate. And you can see here a few examples of publicly traded SaaS and cloud companies that offer usage-based pricing and the types of information and details they share in their investor reports about how they think about MRR or ARR in the context of these variable usage-based fees. There's been a lot of interest in usage-based pricing by the broader SaaS community over the past few years because of the tremendous success that many of the cloud infrastructure providers have had scaling revenue using that model. And so we're seeing more and more SaaS and cloud companies offer what we call a hybrid subscription usage-based pricing model, where there's typically a fixed fee per month based on the number of users, or it's just simply a platform fee, and then a second variable fee that's based upon consumption. And so the revenue profile for a hybrid subscription usage-based pricing model might look something like this, where in orange you see the fixed fees and in blue you see the variable fees changing every month. Now, many SaaS and cloud providers that have hybrid subscription and usage-based pricing models do include usage fees in their ARR calculations. And you can see here some examples of publicly traded SaaS and cloud companies and the types of details they provide in their investor disclosures about their rationale for including those usage fees in ARR. However, there are also many examples of SaaS and cloud companies that do not consider these usage fees recurring and do not include them in their ARR metrics. And you can see here a couple examples of publicly traded companies and the details they share in their disclosures about not including usage fees in ARR.